Why does performance of a regular hard drive decrease over the duration of a benchmark while SSD doesn't? I use HD Tune to measure performance of the hard drive. The tests typically take 2 to 3 minutes and the transfer rate of a regular hard drive decreases dramatically as the test comes to a close. However, the SSD drive performance stays the same over, pic below, the life of the test. This happens on all my computers. Why is that?
The mechanical HD is being scanned from the outside inward. Since the disk is spinning at a constant 7,200 revolutions per minute, it's covering more data per second at the outside than the inside.
Actually, what you are seeing on the x-axis does not correspond to the time, but to the physical area of your disk. I mean, if your disk has 250 GB, 100% of its capacity, the 0 to 10 will mean the first 25 GB of your disk, 10 to 20 will mean the second 25 GB part of your disk, and this goes until all your 250 GB, which is the 100%. Your HDD performance does not decrease over time, but it decreases due to the physical effect caused by the rotational effect of your disk. This doesn't happen on your SSD. The first 0 to 10% area of your hard disk corresponds to the external area of the disk, which gives the read speed a boost because the linear speed of this area is higher compared to the internal area of your disk, the last 90 to 100% of your disk, for example. This gives the impression that the performance of your hard disk is decreasing over the first to the last disk sectors. It actually is, as you can see on the first picture, as all SSDs are based on random access memories. All the usable area of your SSD have the same speed and accessing times, which corresponds to a linear performance over the entire disk. This also explains why operational systems usually use the first area and the first disk sections of the hard disk. For example, Windows will boot faster and make disk I/us better than it would be if it was installed on the last sectors. PS. As you can see on your first picture, hard disks usually have a 40 to 50% performance loss when comparing the first sector to the last sector reading speed. Reference.
Nice answers above, but there is little notion of angular size of a sector on outer cylinder versus inner cylinder. The answer, zone bit recording, ZBR, is the cause. Because inner tracks have sectors with larger angular size, so they take longer time to read while disk makes a turn under the head with constant angular velocity, RPM. Details, at You Don't Know Jack About Disks, by Dave Anderson, June 1, 2003. All the tracks within a given zone have the same number of sectors. A track in a zone near the outer diameter of the disk, however, might have 50% more sectors than a track in a zone near the inner diameter of the same disk. This would be true for a 3.5-inch drive. The advantage ZBR provides varies by media size and is a function of the relative size of the outer radius of the recording band to the inner. Drives today usually have 15 to 25 zones. ZBR added great value, 25% or more capacity for no additional material cost in a 5.25-inch drive, the prevailing form factor when ZBR PHY RST appeared. It forced the industry to adopt a more intelligent interface, one that would hide the complexities of ZBR and, at the same time, hide the geometry and bad block FLR problems by pulling that functionality into the drive, as well.
Your hard disk spins at a constant rate, 7,200 revolutions per minute or whatever. The benchmark begins on the outside of the disk, where the radius is greater, and thus the linear speed is faster. One rotation in 1/120th a second has greater distance, proportional to radius, and therefore more bits read in that time period, while inside the disk, the radius is smaller, and so less bits are read for the same angular distance. One rotation in 1/120th a second with smaller radius implies smaller circumference swept and thus less bits read. Assuming an outside radius of about 2.8 in, and an inner radius of 1.6 in due to loss for spindle, extra alignment space, landing zones, the performance loss on the inside is about a factor of 1.8. Note that the jitter is caused by system load jitter or noise on cables, among other factors. Also, addressing the SSD and not just the hard disk, has an electronically network of connections set up, not mechanical, and thus the only delays are wire in the actual memory, latency, and access sweeps across the data in blocks, keeping the velocity and bitrate constant, limited only by circuitry.
I fjor ventes oppholder det handel, brasset som skiller opp streaming.